Hello everyone. It's been quite some time since I have done a video about things inside of the Dollar Tree that can be used in your sewing space. So I thought that I would do a little bit of an updated video on that. I did not record live inside of the store because I didn't want to be talking to myself like a crazy lady inside of the store. Instead, what I'm doing is just showing you the video footage that I got while I was inside of there and speaking to you live. So without further ado, let's get into it. I think that each individual store has different things inside of it depending on who the manager is. This particular store always has a ton of craft supplies and it's always well stocked, so this is the one that I prefer to go to. The first thing that stood out to me was the pipe cleaners that you see there. The pipe cleaners are wonderful for a sewing space because you can use them to organize your cords. I like to use pipe cleaners all the time to keep my sewing machine cords together so that they're just not dangling underneath my table, and it works wonderfully for a good price of $125 for the entire pack. I also noticed that they had double-sided tape, and I do realize that they sell double-sided tape specifically for sewing. However, you're not going to get double-sided tape specifically for sewing for this price. So this may be a wonderful option. It is acid free, so you're probably not going to have to worry about that eating away at your fabric and degrading the colors. And I like to use double-sided tape specifically when I am working on zippers because it temporarily holds the zipper in place while it's being sewn down. And it's also pretty good to use the double-sided tape when you're working on something like a bag because it can hold those two fabrics in place while you sew without marring the fabric like a pin or a wonder clip would. If you blink, you'd miss them, but they did have these clamps up here, and these are wonderful for holding fabrics together while you sew. And of course, these clamps would be better used for when you're trying to hold together large pieces of fabric. So that is just a thought. Now, the next few items that I found in this aisle were more so geared towards knitters and crocheters. The finger guide is a wonderful tool to have in the knitting and crocheting world because it allows you to organize your yarns and keep them from getting all tangled up, especially when you're using multiple colors. Also, not all locations have yarn, but this particular location had a lot of yarn, and they had the big skins of yarn for $5, and then the smaller ones were the regular $1.25. I did notice that some of them had a little bit of cotton in them, but the vast majority of all of the yarn that they had was acrylic. I never recommend using acrylic yarn for making garments. However, I do think that acrylic yarn is pretty good for making things like bags. I traveled back up the aisle again to see what else I could find or if I'd missed anything. And I did manage to run across the silicone beads. The silicone beads are wonderful for putting on your naked Susan Bates or Boyd hooks, because what you can do is you can put some soapy water on your metal hook and then the silicone bead will just slide right on. I know that that hole looks very small on there, but it does work wonderfully. And they do have a lot of nice colors inside a Dollar Tree for doing just that. And I also found some larger clips there that can be used for quilting in particular. So I'm glad that I did travel back up the aisle to find those two items. On the health and beauty aisle, they do have beauty blenders like you would use for applying makeup. They have them in a wide variety of colors, and you can take a metal crochet hook and just punch it right through the middle and then use the beauty blender as your ergonomic handle. They have them as singles and also in multi-packs. So this is just a wonderful tool if you do enjoy crocheting. In addition to this, they have the makeup brush holders, and the makeup brush holders are actually good for the sewing room because you can place a lot of different tools inside of those different sized makeup brush holder sections and be able to organize your stuff a lot better. The Dollar Tree has rulers of all shapes and colors, so you should be able to find a wonderful ruler for your sewing projects, and the rulers are especially useful if you like to draft your own patterns. I really was overwhelmed by how many great things that they had in the Dollar Tree for sewing spaces. And I noticed that they had the Scotch tape, and I use a lot of Scotch tape when I am putting together different pattern pieces when I do decide to use a commercial pattern, or even when I decide to draft one of my own. It's just wonderful to have that to be able to tape together your pieces. And then two, I didn't miss out on the glue because I like to use the wet kind of glue for quilting, and then the glue sticks whenever I am piecing or working on putting pattern pieces together just to temporarily hold them in place. And it is a thing that you want to make sure that when you're using a glue stick that you have archival quality glue stick, and it must be clear so it doesn't stain your fabric. But otherwise, it is an excellent product to use whenever you are working on sewing projects. Of course, we cannot leave out poster board because poster board is ideal for tracing out pattern pieces that you would like to keep long term. It just makes them more of a permanent fixture than, say, the tissue paper pattern pieces that we normally use. Before leaving Dollar Tree, I found these cute little containers in the party aisle that could be used for placing your pens and marking tools inside of. I just thought they were super adorable. Overall, I was pretty satisfied with the things that I found on this trip. The vast majority of the things that I found were things for holding fabrics and materials together, and then also items for ergonomic purposes. And I think that you really do have to go to a wide variety of different Dollar Trees before you find one that is super suited to crafting, because I do know that I have gone to several in the past that did not have as many crafting supplies as this particular location did. So with that, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will catch you later on. Hopefully I'll be doing another live pretty soon.